Alright, it is 5:30, it's a public hearing, regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees, Brackett ISD. We do have a quorum established, will everybody please stand for a moment of silence followed by the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item 2, which is our public hearing to discuss the 2026-2027 budget and proposed tax rate. Ms. Garza?
So today we're bringing the same numbers we saw during the workshop number 2 for consideration for adoption. And also we have to include a special open meetings act. So our presentation is in item number 7, under action items. That's where the booklet is. And again, the estimated revenues that are included are in the narrative, along with the considerations. And then if you'll note that the budget is presented by a function, that's the way it was when we submitted the proposal. We have a total of 8.2 in revenues, 8.6 in expenditures, with a fund drawing of 618,000. So this is the information for the actual public hearing. When we get to 7A, we will do the action item for adopting the budget.
And what it shows there is the fiscal tax year, the median value of the homestead, the tax rate per $100 value, and then the estimated property tax bill. So that's a new document that we are required to put in as part of the public hearing.
So what you see in 7A is the same document that was brought to you for the proposed budget by function. We didn't change anything. Again, a lot of the things that are included, such as the revenue, are estimates, because we will not have the certified values until after July. We will bring back an amendment in October to indicate snapshot data for student programs, so we'll have certified values by then. By then, we will also have the certification of the controller of the property values to TEA. We do have preliminary notification by the attorneys that the protest was accepted, and so we will get local value, and we'll discuss that on the budget amendment section. But this proposed budget does not include that outcome, simply because it won't be certified to TEA until September. So we left the numbers pretty much stagnant from what you saw in the proposed budget. Both the revenue and the expenditures.
Questions?
On your revenues for your federal program revenues, can you just go over that? Under general fund, it's $780, but for special revenues, under 200 to 499, it's 373. Is that your grant dollars?
Yes, those revenues are, you're looking at the actual budget.
Page 5, 7, 8.
The federal, the 780, that is, it could be indirect costs sometimes, and that might be a little low because we don't have the indirect costs either. That'll change when we bring the budget amendment in October. TA approved an indirect cost rate for the grants, so we can charge grants, bring it into the general fund. So that allocation is actually going to increase in October, but that's what it is.
The total expected grants is the 373,000.
No, the column you see to the right is only the food service fund. So the board is only required to approve both the general fund and the food service fund. So historically, those are the only two we present. If you look at the revenue expenditure report that we'll see later on, there you'll see the rest of the grants. And those are brought to you throughout the year as information items, but because those are either assigned an entitlement or they have a competitive amount that's awarded. With the food service, we bring it because it is subsidized by the general fund. And the subsidy for this is at the very end, the $120,000. At the page 5.
6.
Oh, it's 6 on the.
So, if I'm reading the OMA correctly, median home value in Kenny County increased by $10,000 between last year and this year.
That's what the appraisal district sent to me, yes, those were numbers gathered by Central Group. So that's the median, and not necessarily the average. Because, and this is brand new, the legislature wants us to put this every time we discuss budget, so.
In aggregate, what was the total decrease in expenditures, in percentage?
Decrease? Yes, I think it was 5, rounded about 5, and that's what we presented in the publications that we put in the paper. $4.89 is what we published.
have a speaker signed up to speak in the public hearing in reference to the 2026-27 budget proposed tax rate. Mr. Huey?
Thank you.
Do you need this thing?
No, that's okay. I can do it off memory. So I wouldn't ask the board or the district to speak about pending litigation, but there is litigation against the appraisal district on property values for 2023. I believe that there's also potential not for 24, but for 25 as well. It's recently come to my attention that if that litigation is successful against the appraisal district, that the entities who collect taxes under those values would have to pay that money back. And in future years, those values would be distributed among other properties, and so it would kind of be a wash. But how is the district and the board budgeting for that potential payout for both 23 and 25? And what is that number? What is the value that is potentially that could be lost? And does that value include the potential cost of litigation that would be split up between the entities that collect taxes on those property values?
It's the first time I've heard of it, to be honest. Anybody is, Mario?
I'm honestly not that familiar with the details of the lawsuit or how much the discrepancy between assessment and what the suitors are saying, but I was aware that the lawsuit was very problematic, but I don't think it's something we've actively discussed yet.
And I have not received any formal application.
Through the truth and taxation process, we ask the question to the appraisal district every year if there is any litigation pending, and they return zero. Then they certify zero. So we, through that documentation, we are formally advised that there are none. However, we also are following the month-to-month changes in values from the appraisal district, and if there are supplemental changes that are caused by something large, we question it. We haven't seen anything large either this year. But I would think that we would have received that information when we send the questionnaire to the, and we send it every year. So when we send it next month, we'll see what they return.
That's the required document through the audit.
It's truth and taxation documentation. So if there is litigation pending, they are required to let us know so that we can accommodate that in our budget.
And it's a certified document.
It's signed off by the chief appraiser. It will be sent to them by the end of the month or next month.
But last year's, sure.
Last year's doesn't show it.
And the previous years, what do you recall?
Good question.
And that information calculation is required to be disclosed because it's reported in your final audit report?
Well, it's very important because it contributes to the calculation of the water approved tax rate, the new revenue rate, all the rates that we bring every year. Before we adopt the tax rate in September.
Would you have to disclose that to get a clean audit?
No, they might have to in their documentation. I think it just depends on the timing of issues. So I'll use our district as an example. If we had a litigation pending and we knew that the risk was high for us not winning a case, we would have to disclose that. So it would have to be an auditor risk assessed for the CAD.
So you can account for the liability.
Right. So I will bring that to you with the truth and taxation documents when the time comes and we can discuss if there is any litigation pending according to the numbers.
Ms. Hui, what years did you say?
I believe that the first value protest was in 2023.
Okay.
They skipped 24 and recently filed 25.
Okay.
The litigation, I believe, is in reference to 23 at this time. And I'm looking for the actual case information because the entity that is protesting the values and has brought litigation is required to document that in their resale certificate anytime that a property goes to title. And it's actually listed in their resale certificate as pending litigation against the CAT.
Okay.
And just in general, let's say hypothetically, those values were to come out. Where would that come from? Would it come from an operational fund or would it have to come from a restricted fund? Or is there, I mean, maybe, I don't know, I don't even know where to begin to look to see where that would come from. So.
It would have to come from our fund balance.
From the fund balance, okay. So potentially depleting the fund balance.
Correct.
Okay.
Or not necessarily depleting, but definitely reducing what we have in fund balance. And there are some line items for contingencies within fund balance also.
And I don't think it's a major number, just kind of doing some mental math, $50,000 to $70,000.
For all entities?
No, just for this entity. So it's not, the end of the world, but it is a big number. That's what, 2 school buses that need safety harnesses or whatever. So.
Yeah.
We'll definitely look for them in our request for information.
And the company may be
I can look, I'm looking at the 25, which is last year, there's 0, so they would have included it continuously.
Yeah, so the 23 and 25 will be different. My understanding is that if you continuously file the same protest, because obviously, so the process is you go in, you go to the ARB, ARB says, we don't agree with you, then you have to bring litigation. That litigation was brought in 23 and that process was followed. Had they done that in 24, you'd be able to append that protest to the 23 suit. If you skip 24, you potentially then have to open a separate piece of litigation to then start over. And the fact that you didn't bring it in 24 kind of hurts you for 25. And then going forward, it just becomes a redistribution of property value to individuals underneath the entity that's claiming the nominal value on the common property. So going forward, it's not really an issue, but for 25 and 23, it's a potential expenditure that the school district would have, the conservation district, and Fort Clark Mud would all be affected by that, and the county.
other comments, concerns?
Well, a lot of things to think about, but, I've just been, it feels like a big jump, 10,000 year to year, but, the experts say it's actually, could be worse.
All right, moving on to item 3, which is the public comments to the board. We have Mr. Huey. Item 2 at 6E.
So the first one is for 2, and we've already cleared that up.
6E?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In reference to the 2023-2026 Safety and Security Audit Survey, what's the expected change in responses to events such as the event on May 27th, the terroristic threat, and moving from having armed deputies on campus and having security guards that are unarmed? And how would that look moving forward?
You want to answer that when we get to 6E?
I can address it. So what we did as a school district was we did a good cause exemption in regards to having the required deputies because we do have the guardian program. So through the guardian program, we do have armed personnel on campus at all times. So that's how we're able to meet that requirement. I think going forward, one of the issues has been the lack of funding for an armed officer. The school district did post for that position last year. We did not apply for the grant to continue because it wasn't a grant that provided enough funding to be able to sustain a full-time position. So that's why we did the good cause exemption, and we are in compliance with TEA through our guardian program. And I see us continuing the guardian program and continuing to be in compliance.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 4, which is recognition by Ms. Gibbs.
All right. Well, I am very excited about tonight's recognition because I think it really shows the growth of one of our CTE programs. About, I would say maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4 already, we started the teacher aid certification CTE class. Last year we had our first group that finished, and we had 2 students get certified as teacher aides. This year we more than doubled that program, and we have 5 students tonight that I would like to recognize for their completion of the teacher aid certification. The first one that I would like to recognize actually took her class with me. So during 8th period, she reported to me, and then we sent her off to do some practicum hours. So Catalina Gaxa, a certificate of excellence for completion of your teacher aid certification program. Thank you. Oh, yes, sorry. Another student who made sure he got his work done and received his certification, and we're very proud of his accomplishment. Gavin Lopez for his completion of teacher aid certification.
Forgot to say that.
Go ahead, you guys can go.
How do you? And not able to join us tonight, we have Nolani Morris and Allison Nava, who will also complete that. And I know that they have plans to go and finish their other 2 years, so that way they can come back and have their own classroom, right?
Well, I still have to check.
Thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 5, which is our consent agenda. Take a look at our minutes of previous meetings and if there's any discrepancies, now we'll move on to donations.
So much is happening.
I know it's 4 pages, but I should read out all the donations. So, the month of May, we have so many end-of-year projects, and our community and surrounding communities really did a fantastic job making sure that our students were rewarded and that they had donations to make their end-of-year events very, very special. So I'd like to at least go through and read the name of the donors. These were both solicited and unsolicited donations. Ronald and Gracie Mata, Rio Grande Electric, D&D Hardware, Anita Kennedy, Tractor Supply, DLP, Las Monas Lodge, Russell True Value, Uvalde Supply, La Tacita Coffee Shop, Sandoval Electric, The Kraft Melon Company, Maxine Bonner, Sunset Memorial Oaks Cemetery, Uvalde Memorial Hospital, Hillcrest Memorial, Dollar General, Guillermo Guzman. We had 130 donations that came in for the GoFan emergency food account, Kinney County Ranch Supply, D&D Hardware, Southwest Auto and Tractor, Brenda Miller, County Haven Boutique, Segundo Suites, and Aaron Velasco, the Bank and Trust, Shirley Donaldson, Guillermo Guzman, Built Ford Tough, Home Depot, Carlos Gomez, Albert Flores, F&G Livestock, Beverly Kelly, Brad and Elliott Coe, Texas Roadhouse, Ziggy's Roadside Barbecue, Southwest Auto and Tractor Supply, Mi Vida, Julian A. Lifestyle Store, Texas Farm Store, Kinney County Groundwater Conservation District, Lowe's, Tiger Crate, the Geo Group, Kinney County, KC Branch Supply, Brown Nissan, Del Rio, Vanessa Gabriel, Gabriel and Daryl Earwood, with Circle H, Ranch, Harold Bird, Chick-fil-A. So again, we were very, very fortunate. Brackett ISD is very grateful for the solicited and unsolicited donations that we received in the month of May.
Lot of folks. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Donna makes the motion, second by Whit, all those in favor? Passes unanimously. Moving on to item 6, which is our informational items. A is the final review of the district campus improvement plans 2025-26. Ms. Diaz, Mr. Jimenez, and Miller.
So attached, you will find the 3 final formative reviews with summative notes on the district and the different campus improvement plans. These are brought to y'all on a quarterly basis. They're brought to you at least 4 times a year. They were brought in November, January, March, and then in June. It's basically just reviewing the strategies on where we were, how much progress we made, and then what are our next steps for next year. So if you take a look at several of those, most of them are going to be things, you'll see the blue arrows for June, which means we want to continue them. So, for example, strategy number 3, district-wide progress monitoring for intervention planning. We put plans in place, we documented the programs that we were going to use, and so we made considerable progress in this area, and in June the goal is to continue with the walkthroughs, continue using Eduphoria where we use T-test to document, and then scheduling the trainings for the 26-27. So I feel like throughout the campus and the district improvement plans, you're going to see a lot of those blue arrows, which basically just shows that we're going to continue with several of these strategies. We meet with the district advisory committee, and the campus meets with their campus advisory committees, and then we kind of rebuild the improvement plans based on the new adopted goals, which were done in February. These are still based on last year's goals. So we'll just kind of close this out, and then in August, I'll bring you the 26-27 district and campus improvement plans.
Questions or concerns?
This is the one where we ask if you can put the current metric and what the goal is, so you'll be doing that for the
26-27. And on the next one, I kind of talk a little bit more about that for time.
That'll be next
Next year.
year's bracket. Okay, I'm gonna ask. So, moving on to 6B, which is plan for learning. Yes?
So I just wanted to give a little bit of background on why we use Plan for Learning. So Plan for Learning is the company that provides that template that I just showed y'all for the district and campus improvement plans. So we did talk at one point about something that Ms. Solomon and Mrs. Bettis, I think, had seen at the summit from Region 20. And so I did reach out and I was like, well, what was shared, because there was another template and nobody could ever really provide me with any information. And so I kind of dug a little bit deeper on Plan for Learning, and it is the one right now that is most widely used. So I just kind of gave you some background. It's currently being utilized by 341 districts. It is the one that's supported by Region 20, so if we need assistance, if the platform isn't working, we can reach out to Region 20. It is aligned to what TEA requires. So I think that the concern has been about, number one, we need to update the goals, because the goals seem to now match 26, 27. And then I think there was some discussion on how we can make the strategies a little bit more measurable. So if it says we're going to do walkthroughs, well, we're going to do how many walkthroughs, per teacher. So I think as we move into next year, we'll try to see what we can do with the strategies. So there is a little bit more measure for the 26, 27. But just wanted to give y'all some information in regards to how Plan for Learning is set up. We've been using Plan for Learning since 2010. So it actually houses all of our previous campus improvement plans and district improvement plans. So I do like that it has the historical. So our plan for next year will be to continue utilizing the Plan for Learning dashboard and its templates and tweaking the strategies just a little bit for measurement purposes. And then I just gave y'all some resources on where this program came from.
I think we just had pictures and not of the actual vendor.
No,
But I never was able to go into the TEA to pull down the PowerPoint presentations. That's kind of challenging at maybe the conference, but it'd be good if maybe we can, when we go to those summits or something, someone here can have access to reach out to someone there to get those presentations.
and I sent the picture that y'all sent me to Mr. Derry, who was the one that put it on, and he shared it with several people, and it's just nobody could pinpoint where that one came from. It was their first year that they put it on too, so maybe they can.
And, yeah, we could just ask for all our slides, just for future, that way some of us went, some of us didn't, and those slides could be shared amongst us.
Absolutely.
But 6C, which is the results of the 2025 state PES protest.
So there are two documents that we included in this item. So the first one is the official letter that I received on May 29th, basically saying that if you look at the second paragraph, the appeal for our district has resulted in a reduction of the comptroller's 2025 property value city finding to the school district's local tax roll. So basically that's good news. The appeal came in our favor. And then the second document just basically is the summary worksheet. And then if y'all have specific questions, I know that Emily would probably be able to answer those a little bit better than I can. But it is in our favor that we won this appeal.
So does that mean we get money back? No. Does that keep us out of recapture anything?
Probably, but we'll have to wait until we get certified values for this year, because these are your
8-year run.
yes,
Year.
they're 2025 values. And I marked them up a little bit, not knowing the results of this, so by the time we get certified, we might be right there, but we have to tweak a little bit when we might get out of recapture. TA will certify these until September on the summary of finances. So right now, they're considered local value for the attorney's correspondence, but it takes a while for the controller to certify to TA.
And as Matt said, because we are going to get money back, so we will get some money back, we'll have to pay for doing the study, but the people, and you should see a little bit.
Take a nickel.
What's the percentage line breaker? 10?
I think it's
10% we have to. That's a big reduction of 137 million.
Yeah, shoot.
it's goodness.
There are there contingencies? Meaning if it's in our favor, then we get charged, if it's not in our favor?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, 6D, DC local.
So, this one is one of those that I just like to bring every year, just as notification, kind of like I do with the graduation. Because I always think that, you know, some things will happen and I'm like, why is that being allowed? For example, when your sixth ranking candidate is salutatorian, we either do the policy so that we know why. So, during the month of July through August 31st, the board gives the superintendent authority to hire. So basically, this is kind of crunch time for us. So instead of having to wait for a board meeting to officially offer a person a position, from July 1 through August 31st, the board delegates the superintendent final authority to employ classroom teachers. The superintendent shall inform the board of any persons hired under this authority. So what could potentially happen is we get a really good applicant next week, and we don't have a board meeting until the middle of July. If the applicant is certified and meets all our criteria, I can actually offer them a contract, and then in July, bring you the information that I offered a contract to this person.
It's not new, it's been since 2023, right?
Correct. I think the date should be on the bottom, yes, November 5th of 2023. So we did, December of 24 was the first one.
Is this only if we don't have a July board meeting?
It's regardless. Because what had happened in the past is that, let's say that we have a qualified applicant and we don't have a board meeting until July 15th, but they've also been offered a job somewhere else and they have a board meeting July 10th. And so it's a matter of a week. And so they oftentimes we would lose candidates to districts just because of timing.
This is teachers, right?
Correct.
Next is our 60, the 2023-26 Safety and Security Audit Survey. Yes.
So, we are required to have a, safety and security audit, at least once every 3 years by a list of vetted, people by TPA. So we had our, audit this year. And so they came in, the gentleman actually probably spent a good 3 days here. Walked campuses, did interviews, spoke to students, spoke to staff, spoke to campus admin, went through our emergency operations plan, went through different trainings that we've done. It was very comprehensive, and so then at the end, we are required to report to the board their recommendations. Again, this kind of goes back to those unfunded mandates. So there are some critical priorities where it's immediate action required. Out of the bus barn, we went out there, there was a concern about keys and how they were left. And so we need to work on the key control process, this key control system out of the bus barn. As much as we speak to students and talk to them, there were at least 2 incidences where students let the auditor into the building without asking for a badge. Not, and I actually watched it on video, and, it was, do you need to come in? And, so we did address the students immediately, but they did hold the door open for someone that did not have tag. The auditorium doors, the auditor was informed that sometimes they're chained. So they're normally just locked, but he was informed that sometimes they are chained, and he said that was an issue of being susceptible to chaining because it impacts emergency exit. High priority that he suggested we address before the new school year, and some of them are easy, some signage that we have to print out and get up in regards to the steroid law. The knock box system that we have is not tied to any type of alarm. We have the boxes, but they're not tied to any alarm system. The other recommendation was that if a locker is not being used by a student, that we use maybe zip ties to keep them locked, so that way kids can't just go in there and start storing stuff in there. Parking, that we should have staff parking or some sort of signs on our cars so they know which cars are actually staff parking. There were some issues with perimeter fencing, and those are already being addressed. If you drive by, you can see some of the new fencing already going up, and we are going to add that last part that is behind the manhole for the perimeter fencing. We've been working on that. There's some securing that we need to do in regards to the electrical boxes, facility lighting, monitoring the transportation facility, just the overall configuration of how buses and vehicles are parked at the transportation yard, seating charts on the buses, and then some issues with chemical storage. So nothing that we can't take care of. Some light pictures, and then we had some lower priority things, hand washing stations, the AED documentation. Overall, his conclusion, we have a strong district-wide commitment to safety and security and student well-being. Administration and staff consistently work to meet and exceed minimum state standards, reflecting a culture grounded in accountability, care, and educational excellence. The district's evident dedication to its students, combined with a proactive approach to safety, positions Brackett ISD as a model for maintaining a secure and supportive learning environment. He was actually very, very impressed and complimentary, especially of our custodial and maintenance staff. So, Mr. Solis, thank you to your staff for the work that they do. We have some things that we need to correct, and we'll get on it.
I'm just looking at the thing about the bus bar, and they want you to eliminate backing. That's a lot of real estate. Eliminate backing. I don't know how to get there. Just saying.
We'll tackle those things at a time.
So the keys were left inside the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd hate to see one of those new buses down that street with a bunch of kids. Questions? Concerns? Comments? All right, now moving on to 6F, which is our board operating procedures.
Usually bring these in June. We can just refresh if we have, if anyone wants to make any changes to our operating procedures. We can probably bring them back in July, and see if any more address change.
Mr. Terrazas, I think we did put it on for the July board meeting as well, so if everybody just wants to reference this and maybe make notes on it, and then put it in July.
So just revise it in December.
Right.
Yeah,
It's usually like,
it was right after, I think we did the Robert's rules stuff too.
Gracie and Telly, I'll look at. Yeah. I think we revised
Some of the.
some of the Robert's rule, right? Yeah.
I knew better than
The Robert's rule.
that. Yes.
I think we went to like short or small meetings or,
Yeah, there's an abbreviated version,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's basically the format in which we,
Motion, so.
make the motion second.
You can get that. Okay.
All right, moving on to 16, which is our department reports.
What's a transportation violation? Is it like a student or is it someone?
Getting up and making a fuss in the eye.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Was it on the secondary or the elementary?
Elementary.
Oh, it was probably on the bus, something on the bus.
They had to do Play-Doh with hair.
Oh. It's under administration.
In the year, it does occur, as we had some couple instances in the high school involving cell phones. How has it been overall with the cell phones? Because I know a lot of districts elsewhere have been complaining or saying it's been rough and parents and expectations. Have we had much of that, or has it been steady as she goes?
Pretty steady. There's been a little bit of kickback, but once we establish what our expectations are, everybody pretty much.
Good. Thank you.
Anybody else have any more comments? Moving on to 7A, which consider action regarding the 2026-27 BISD, the budget presented by Ms. Diaz-Ignacio.
So Ms. Garza has done a fantastic job in putting our budget binder together. We use the same format that we've been using previous years and also from the workshop. On page 3 is basically where, as she stated, is the narrative, where we do a lot of our projections, estimated revenues, estimated appropriations, all which were discussed in the budget workshop, and the estimated fund drawing, expenditures exceed revenues by 618,630. So this proposed budget would require us to go into fund drawing that amount. She also listed the considerations, the legislative proposed bills that impacted us, the property values that impact us, and other budget impacts. Specifically, again, we continue to say the 14.5% increase in inflation, the investment rate, dropping in enrollment, and then the continued compounded mandates. The remainder of the 2 pages, pages 5 and 6, are the numbers that Ms. Garza has meticulously calculated and worked on. So that's what we have for y'all tonight is the budget binder, and we'll entertain any questions.
So I saw they were at a 96.7 collection rate. Did they ever get that up to 3.3% at all, or did we just wash it?
What happens is any collections that aren't collected in the current year, when the year begins, they're considered delinquent taxes, and that collection is reported in a different way. It's not at the 96. So another thing that we would never get to 100% is because we do a discount, the 3-2-1, you pay in October 3-2. So we would never hit that 100 unless no one will discount.
I'm gonna go ahead and make the recommendation, that way then we can officially open it up for questions and discussion. Okay. So it is the recommendation of the administration to adopt the 2026-27 Brackett ISD budget as presented.
These questions, concerns?
I just have a comment. I know I asked earlier in regards to the aggregate of the decrease in expenses. I noticed on your narrative, you included estimated revenues, appropriations, fund drawing, so forth and so on. It'd be good if you just put a little part in there that, expense to
Highlight the main ones.
the highlight the main ones. Those things are outside of our control. And then lastly, I do want to note, I know last year, maybe, or the year before last, I asked to look at and y'all provided this information, was previous years on your fund balance, our net loss year over year. And I did make a note that this year for budget, although we're drawing from fund balance, it's the least impactful that I have seen compared to prior years. So in prior years, we were budgeting a higher loss than what we are this year. I think this year it's cut by half of what I saw historically. But it's always good to have at least that 5-year trend to show that this isn't, that you are, we're moving in the right direction. We don't want to get from fund balance, that's not the intent, but it's not as significant. And then that, I believe that also includes the potential recapture. So if that doesn't occur, it's even more favorable.
I think that document that you're talking about was in budget workshop 2. So it is on there, but I can see where you would want to bring it back and include that, because it did have a 5-year, I think it included that, it was at all the. Yes, so it goes back to what was the first year? If you start with that.
I asked for those. 2022, was 1.1 million over. 2023 was 1.4, 2024 1.4, and last year 1.5 was over budget. This year was 618,000. Like Claudia said, I know it's tough. We don't want to be there, but I think the work that you guys, all y'all did in this office, district-wide, I commend y'all for getting us to there. I think we can still, with your plan that we asked, to get ahead of this even more, cutting it by almost $1 million from last year to this year is just kudos to y'all. I don't want that to be unnoticed. I know the biggest thing will be you're still over budget, but you're trending in the right direction as far as for me. So I appreciate all y'all's hard work.
Just noted as well that the money that they requested, they also put money back to, so they didn't pull the 1.5 and they keep the 1.5, it was like 700 or 800,000.
We'll have that actual for y'all in September, when after the audit, then we'll have the actual, but we're hoping that it's gonna be under.
Well, I'm hoping that 618 is maybe half.
Yeah, we're gonna keep working.
Anybody else? Now, is there a motion to adopt the 2026-2027 Brackett ISD budget as presented?
I make a motion to adopt the 26-27 budget as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, Donnie makes a motion, seconds, all those in favor? That's unanimous. All right, moving on to 7B, which is consider and take taxable action regarding the voter approval tax rate election of Vader.
So at the last meeting, the possibility of the Vader came up, and I asked, do we want to look into it a little bit more? So we did. The second item that's on the timeline for budget tax rate adoption, we pulled this from TASB, and basically it just, the one from TASB, it basically shows just kind of the timeline of everything that would have to happen in order for us to be able to do it. And I think one of the things coming up very quickly would be that we have to have a different type of audit done to be able to go into a Vader. So we looked at that, and then we looked at things that we needed to consider. So that would be the first option on there. So we wanted to look at all the considerations and then see what the cost would be, and then what would it actually generate. And again, these are all estimates. So we reviewed the TASB timeline, we looked at election costs, Ms. Ivani said a little bit of background work. Depends if we contract with the county or if we do it just with the school. We are required to have an efficiency audit, we would have to select that auditor by July 3rd. And then there was some, Coleman and Horton does not do the efficiency audits. Mo Casey did provide preliminary proposal in the quote. We'd be looking at anywhere from close to 20,000 to 23,000. And so then I said, okay, well, how much would this actually bring in? And so the yield per penny would be approximately 99,000 per penny. The max that we could do would be 3 pennies because of so that way they would say non-recapture pennies. So potential revenue, you'd be looking at about $297,000 per acre. Potential expenses, you'd be looking at an production cost of up to $10,500, an efficiency audit of up to $23,250. So the potential net revenue is $263,250. And not to say that isn't needed, not to say it isn't wanted. I'm just not really sure if the timing is right.
I think that should be the most significant.
Yes, so I think if we had seen a bigger significance, I'm not saying it would be off the table forever, but again, I just kind of thinking about where we are and the cuts that we've done, knowing that we do have legislative session coming next summer. I'm not sure if the timing is right. We also did put in the policy CCG legal, which talks a little bit about the efficiency audit. I don't know, Rick, if you want to add any more, if you have any questions in regards to this. Our recommendation is that we don't move forward this year.
Yeah, no, this is going on top of the golden pennies that we have available to us. Like I said, we've got 3 that we could add on to help our fund balance and our finances around there. I wanted some more information on it. This is something that would have to go out to the community and for a vote. But we didn't really know much about it at the last meeting, so I wanted to bring it on and did a little research on it. Like I said, I don't know, I haven't really talked to many community members about this. I don't know if it's something they'd be even interested in entertaining or not, but it'd be adding 3 cents to their 5 cents that we automatically collect on, which would give us a total of 7 and then 1 of the pennies. If we ever did decide to move forward with this and do a vote on it, we only have to have the election one time, and then it's stuck on that.
Correct.
It's stuck on that rate for the future.
I definitely feel like this would have to maybe come with budget workshop 1. So as soon as we start talking about budget, then we start talking about Vader. Make it part of the initial process instead of now. So again, at this time, it is the recommendation of the administration that we do not go forward with Vader.
Say no.
Yeah, do not go
Yeah, I
forward
was
with Vader.
like, put mine.
Yeah. So everybody would be that we're not doing this.
17, consider and take possible action regarding community eligibility.
We wanted to vote on seven, we want to vote on 7B because we put it as an action item that we're not moving forward. So the recommendation of the administration is not to move forward at this time.
I move that we approve that recommendation.
I'll second.
All right, Matthew approves, Wait seconds, all those in favor? Passes unanimously not to go. N-O-T. All right, moving on to 7C now. Consider and take possible action regarding community eligibility provision. The food services pilot program 2026-27.
So our community eligibility program, CEP, is our lunch program. It's our national school lunch program for eligible schools based on economically identified students. Brackett ISD agreed to provide free breakfast and lunch to all students without requesting applications. We are in our 4th year of CEP, 4-4. So basically this would be our last year for CEP. Amalia has done some cost benefit analysis, and it is the recommendation for the administration that you go ahead and do year 4 and then reevaluate later. But we would continue with free breakfast and lunch for 26, 27. And then she does the attachment and presentation. How do you want to go through?
I can, yes, so CP again is offered by Department of Agriculture. We qualify by what is called the identified student percentage. The first year we had 52.10%, and so the school districts, then we have to agree to serve everybody free lunch, free breakfast. We cannot ask for applications. Of course, there's reduced paperwork for us and for the households. It also reduces over identification, which is one of the, believe it or not, the biggest deals of the program where we're not identifying the free kids, the paid kids, the reduced kids, because everyone is getting a lunch as they walk through a line without paying. We do have to submit our final application by the end of this month. We can opt out in a year. We've remained every year simply because our initial rate in year 152 kind of stays with us through the 4 years. Unfortunately, that rate is dropping, so to go through the next 4-year cycle, we will be bringing some data and information to the board late fall for consideration of what that will mean to the program. For this year, if you know the history in year 1, 23-24, we've been pretty steady. This year, you notice that there were about 3,000 less breakfasts. Some of it had to do with less children enrolled and maybe less taking it. But because our reimbursement rates change every year, the dollar value wasn't significant. We're estimating year 4 to be at around the same amount as far as revenue and serving the same number of meals. We get reimbursed 83% of those meals at the free rate and 16% on the paid rate. These estimates are based on the 25-26 rates. The new ones come out July 1st. And that rate on top is what we want to see high, but it is just the formula. But the identified rate comes 1.6. The lower the identified rate, the less we get on reimbursement. So that's what we will be bringing back to you right before the next 4-year cycle begins. Hopefully after our student data in consideration for 2078. I'll basically mention the rest. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
We actually have organized it on our calendar today, bring it up early next year, January, to start figuring out what the plan is so we can give the community plenty of notice if we're not going to offer free breakfast and lunch. We want to make sure that that gets out there early enough so everybody's aware and nobody is caught off guard and can plan. So I would say by January of 27, we'll start having those discussions and bringing some things to the board so we can put everything out with plenty of time for our families.
Is there any discussion? I can make a motion.
Move to approve the recommendation of the name for year 4.
Alright. Makes the recommendation, second.
I'll second.
With seconds, all those in favor? Passes unanimously. 7E, which is considered take possible action regarding the 26-27 TRS health insurance rates. Ms. Diaz and Nelson.
I'm gonna let Ms. Garza cover this one because I know she's been working on that.
So in, around this time, we received the premiums for our health insurance from TRS, and they have gone up by $31. What we've done in the past, if you see the history for 22, 23, all the way to the proposed 26, 27, there's the ISD contribution line, there's the state contribution line, and there's the employee contribution line. So the first line has held, we were increasing it up to 24, 25, where the ISD has not increased it since 24, 25, the contribution. The state, although the insurance premium from TRS continues to go up, state doesn't go up, one of those unfunded mandates, they stay at the 75. And so unfortunately, the employee contribution is the one that has been increasing because the employees have to really increase in premiums. If you look at the local area is, the green area is the local considerations, and in the blue area, we have legal considerations. So the state says that at a minimum, between the state and the district, we must contribute $225. So the state's 75, and we're actually contributing above what the state is requiring, by $101. So we meet that requirement. Then there's a federal requirement, which is under the Affordability Care Act, which basically says that we have to look at our lowest paid hourly employee and calculate if we are in compliance with the Affordability Care Act. There's a calculator that is put out by TASB that helps us with this calculation. We ran the calculator and it returns that we should be paying our employees $13.36 or the lowest paid employee. But if you look at our compensation plan, our lowest paid employee is at $11.21 currently. This just came out literally hot off the press last week late, and so we are currently in discussions with TASB about the calculator, about whether or not we are still held accountable to ACA, and about the best path forward for being in compliance with this part, as far as it is related to our insurance contribution rates. So for today, our recommendation is for BISD contribution to remain at the 251, so that we may move forward with budget and also with our payroll processes that begin in July. We did find that there were about 4 employees that were slightly under the 1336. So if it is a consideration, we will bring the agenda back and amend either the salaries or the comp plans, or we'll make it right to where we agree to the ACA calculator if it's still a requirement, because TASB is still researching under the Big Beautiful Bill. This may not necessarily apply to us anymore. So we'll wait on all of their response. It still does? There was back and forth about it, but I calculated it anyway just so that we would keep that in mind. So after discussing it with Ms. Diaz, I think we would like to recommend that we approve as presented with the $31 increase to the employee. And if the bottom portion we don't need, we'll bring back again, either the employees that need a salary equity adjustment, or the comp plans, or the contribution the ISD makes.
Any discussion?
Is the number of employees staying, the enrolled employees staying the same?
And that's another thing we don't know until enrollment period, which is, August, like the first week of August. That's when this is based on the 25, 26.
We have a motion to accept the 2026, 2027 TRS health insurance rates and approve the increased contribution paid by the employee. So, Matt makes the motion. Gracie seconds. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. 7F, consider and take possible action regarding the budget amendments.
70.
I'm sorry. The district calendar, possible action regarding revisions to the 2026-27 district calendar. Yes.
So I'm bringing the calendar back to the board for some discussion and a recommendation to make some changes. So we're facing a couple of challenges. The first one is a reduction in the number of bus drivers. We've lost 2 of our bus drivers. The second is most of our non-district games are now about 4 hours away. We have a large number of participants in extracurricular. So we were looking at on any given, or not any given Friday, but on the Fridays listed below there, August 28th, September 4th, September 11th, and October 10th, having about 170 students out beginning at noon. And that's because band, football, volleyball, and cheer all travel. And so if you look at the current enrollment, there's only 265 students, 6 through 12, and you're looking at over half of those being out. One of the things that I know Ms. Harrison has spoken about today was the lack of engagement in the classrooms on the afternoons that we had so many students out, because a teacher would have 3 students left in their classroom, and so when there's a lack of engagement, there's an increase in discipline issues, and so talking to AD, Coach Yeager, talking to transportation, it is the recommendation of the administration to approve the revisions to the 26-27 district calendars presented, which has those dates that I mentioned as early outs. It still, Ms. Price revised the calendar, it still gives us 5 extra days. So if we have bad weather days, if we have those cold weather, we have to shut down or delay start, we still have 5 days in the bank that we can use. So we think it's in the best interest of the students and the district to go ahead and make those out-of-town games as early out days.
Any discussion?
Have y'all considered, I know other schools around the area have considered or don't do the Fridays, and usually it starts the second semester of the school year. Is that something that y'all?
We did it actually, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we called them Flex Fridays, and so we didn't have school on Fridays. There was concerns from the community about childcare, and so it didn't get a very good response or reception.
And will this impact instruction?
So, yes and no. Okay, the event itself impacts instruction. So, most of our teachers always told us, and Ms. Harris can share more, that they didn't do anything on Friday afternoons anyways because they didn't want to start something new with only three students in the classroom. So typically there wasn't a whole lot of instruction going on. So does it impact instruction? Absolutely, but was it already impacting construction? Yes.
I'll move to approve the revisions. Matthew makes a motion to approve the revisions to the 2026-27 district calendar as presented. For second? With seconds, all those in favor? Passes unanimously. Next is, 7, consider and take back possible action regarding the budget amendments.
So the first budget amendment, BA 0601, is really sort of just covering a bunch of things in preparation for the audit. We are making sure that our functions are in alignment with the budget and we don't overspend as best that we can. We're also including a reduction to the food service fund for $14,000 because they've done very well this year. And we're bringing that back to the general fund balance. We're also including the results of the property value study because even though TEA has not certified it, we do have the information from the attorney. So using those numbers to the template, we added that in here also. And so if you look at the very last line item, we will be reducing deficit by $98,902. And on the bottom area, I also indicate that it's to align the budget. It includes, we also have six weeks data with the ADA programs and so forth. That isn't certified either until the summer. So it's preliminary, but we do include it because for audit preparation also. And to let you know that we're going to be putting that back into journal. This is through the actual budget side. At the end of the year, once the audit's done, we also have some balances that we don't use. But again, that's until we cleaned up and paid all of our final bills and everything that happens in June. So that's BA 601. The next amendment is BA 602. That's basically the food service fund, aligning it to put back those $14,000 into the general fund.
Is there a motion to approve the budget amendments BA 0601 and BA 0602 as presented? Flavia makes the motion. Is there a second? With seconds, all those in favor? Passes unanimously. Moving on to 8, business and finance.
So the revenue expense report, this term monthly report, we are at 95.79 collected revenues. This is through May, so again, we're going to close out the year one more month of journal entries that is still pending, and expenditures kind of at the same place we were last year. Well, actually, no, a little, let's see. Yes, a little more, but that's because this year we did the practice of encumbering. We were throughout the year trying to book the budget as much as we could to have a better handle on the budget. So if you see there's 184,000 in encumbrances, so if all of that materializes, that's when we'll be 89.87. By the end of June, we may release some of that. Utilities may be less. We may not receive all supplies or anything we might have ordered. And so that's where we may put some money back in. But that's what we do there. And then the rest of those funds are all of our grant funds.
questions or concerns?
Now we're on to 8B. Do you have any questions on the checkbook?
No questions, let's go to item 9, which is the superintendent's report.
So, just our past and completed events and upcoming events, and we just came back from SLI. Upcoming events, the central office will be closed, week after next, that 4th of July week, so, central office going to be shut down. Our regular board meeting is going to be on the 3rd Monday instead of on the 2nd Monday, it's July 20th. Then, we have TASB coming on July 20th and 21st for a policy review. And so I had them come four summers ago. And basically what they do is we go over every single policy and we align it to legal, local, and then the handbook or admin reg. So the goal of the policy review is to ensure that, number one, that everything that was done in the legislative session is updated and in our policy. And then number two, that what is in our policy is actually listed and practiced in our handbooks and in our administrative rights. So they're here for about 2 days just to make sure that everything is aligned. And they usually recommend that we do a full policy review every 3 to 5 years. I will be bringing in different staff, depending on the policy being reviewed. So if it's policy on high school credits and graduation requirements, then I'll ask the secondary team to join me, and then we want to make sure that they understand that the policy says legal, local, and then what our practice is, just to make sure that everything is aligned. So there will be 2 full days on the 20th and 21st. That's all I got.
All right, next we have 10, going into closed session at 7:06 pursuant to Government Code 551.074.
If you want me to, yeah, they came out, I'll come and go, unpause it, or.
So right now, just have window there.
Yeah. No, we just do words that mute it. And then when I open, I'll just unmute it and then I can exit it, so you don't have to wait.
Thank you so much. Okay, very cool.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, David, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Thank you.
Right, and I
I was asking her if we ever did anything, if we looking at the extended.
No, but ACE can, so just because it's an early out, what you can actually do is move up ACE. So still have it. So still have it, but you would start it from 1 to, so instead of doing 4 to 6, you do 1 to 3.
That we have to start whenever school is out and we have to start up until 6. We
So
can't stop before 6.
I think Ms. Newman reached out to them at one time when it was early out. And so you have to do that. Yeah, so you have to start when school is out, and you have to go in a minimum of 2 weeks.
So you see, oh, yeah, that's fine.
That's what you want.
And it may be something that she had to like, she had to do like a waiver or like a special request, but it would still be like school ends and we still do for 2 hours.
I'll check on it.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
then just to make, listen, send me a message or stop by and see me tomorrow.
Okay.
We can talk about it some more, because I want to talk about the new grant application, right?
Yeah, it's due August.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was thinking July, I'm sorry, I'm following. Alright, awesome.
Check. Camera off.
Yes, it is.
You're gonna text if the camera's still on.
I think the camera's on, but the
It's point away, yeah. Nice of her to double check something.
I don't think so.
Can she hear? Test.
Let me go to our YouTube page.
Test.